that's here today, thanks to press, thanks to all the anti-fracking groups that are here. I believe I can speak for everyone here behind me today and say that so far today's been a very productive lobby day for all the anti-fracking movement and for legislators as well. Our goal is to defeat the industry-backed fracking bill and generate support for a 2-year moratorium for fracking in the state of Illinois. We believe concerned residents from all across Illinois, including representatives from 13 different grassroots movements and environmental groups, are here today speaking with our Illinois legislators about the dangers of fracking to our families, our resources, and our economies. Nobody listened to the people of Southern Illinois before the Brady bill was finished. Industry kept saying that we were represented in closed-door hearings. I assure you, Southern Illinois was not represented in the closed-door sessions. We're going to continue to educate our legislators that Southern Illinois is not a playground for the oil and gas industry. Families live in Southern Illinois and they deserve to be treated with fairness and respect. They're not going to turn the beautiful Shawnee Hills and the Shawnee National Forest into an industrial wasteland without further conversation from us. Now let me introduce our first speaker, SAFE's environmental attorney, wherever she is, Penny Livingston. Thank you, Penny.
My name is Penny Livingston. I'm an environmental lawyer. I am one of about a dozen lawyers who have donated our time to this cause because it's that important. I've been suing polluters in the state of Illinois for 25 years now. I put in more than a dozen years with the government. Let me tell you, no matter what is in this regulatory bill, and I can tell you the problems with this regulatory bill, no matter what is in this regulatory bill, Illinois Department of Natural Resources rubber stamps permit applications, whatever's in them. They are regularly, consistently illegal, inconsistent with the law, and they rubber stamp the permits. They give them out. They don't enforce the permits. They do not enforce the law. We do not have compliance with the current situation. Tabby has pictures if anybody wants to see what White County looks like in Illinois with its 3,000 acres of barren ground for the last 30 years from the oil and gas industry. The coal industry has pits all over Southern Illinois filled with hazardous waste that is exempt from every law but the mining law, and the Illinois Supreme Court has declared if you got yourself a permit 30 years ago, the permit rules even though it's inconsistent with the law, even though that law says citizens have a right to sue. No right to sue, guys. It doesn't exist. This regulatory bill fee shifts. If you challenge a permit because you don't want your water taken away from you so you can't bathe and drink, if you don't want your water poisoned and you challenge their permit application because it will be illegal, and you challenge that and you lose, and you will lose because you don't have the money to have experts the way they do, and you're going to be getting free lawyers who are doing 50 other things, okay? When you lose, they're going to put their attorney's fees and slap a lien on your house, and you're going to lose your house. This regulatory bill is the same old how this industry operates. I brought with me today industry papers where the energy and capital people are saying you can get 532% return on your money for fracking. You know why? Because they're exempt from the Clean Air Act, they're exempt from the Clean Water Act, they're exempt from the Safe Drinking Water Act. They don't have to treat their waste as hazardous, even though it is characteristically hazardous. We have got to stop fracking in Illinois. We've got to stop it. And the first thing we need to do is pass a moratorium in this state like they did in New York. And then we need to set up a task force and we need to study it. And we, the people of the state of Illinois, need to show up at those And we need to present evidence that we find in articles on Google. We need to present evidence of people who have had dead cows from the methane that escapes. Our shale is different than shale in other states. They're not really coming after the gas, they're coming after the oil because they don't know how to capture the gas. You might remember that methane is one of the most potent greenhouse gases. They spent more on Hurricane Sandy cleanup than Ronald Reagan spent on Star Wars. We have got to stop climate change. We have got to keep the carbon in the ground. And they're coming to Illinois because almost all the coal is here, and now they want to come after our shale. And we have got to stop this because we do not have a regulatory mechanism in Illinois that is capable of dealing with it. And Illinois EPA is not going to be in charge of regulating. DNR is. And if you look and you do a FOIA request, you'll find they have 12 inspectors. They don't do their job now. They're not going to do their job later. They rubber stamp everything. They issue illegal permits, and then they say, well, citizens, you can challenge. If you want to lose your house, come and challenge. I would be sued for malpractice if I told you to challenge, because you're probably not going to win because you don't have the money that the industry has to back this. We have got to stop this. I just want to say one more thing. If you're not aware of it, we had an earthquake in Benton day before last. It only had a 2.7 on the Richter scale, but I don't know what the rest of you are thinking. I'm thinking, you don't even know our shale, and you want to come here and frack it when we're on the New Madrid fault line, which happened to be the most disastrous earthquake fault line in the history of America in the 1800s. It's 100 years overdue to blow. Our governor just issued a report on it. He says 3,500 casualties if it blows. Let's not set it off. Stop it now. Exactly. Yes, exactly. You are now going to hear from Susie Ruby of Illinois People's Action. Before you do, I want to leave you with one thought from James Madison when he was President of the United States. He said, "The advancement and diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty." We have got to educate our legislators. They have to ban fracking. We need a moratorium now.
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Hola, me llamo Susie Ruby de Acción de Illinois, de la gente de Illinois. Hello, my name is Susie Ruby from Illinois People's Action. I am here speaking on behalf of Mary Betchel, a leader with Illinois People's Action, who is going to speak on fracking from a faith perspective. As a person of faith myself, I want you to know that I also echo Mary's statement, which now I'm going to read. My name is Mary Betchel, and I'm with Illinois People's Action. IPA is a faith-based community organizing entity. We have organized around the issues such as living wage, payday lending, night bus service here in Springfield, immigration, and now hydraulic fracking. I would like to share with you some of the thoughts that relative to fracking from the faith perspective, and specifically from the Catholic perspective, since this is my faith. This is who I am. On January 29th of this year, the Department of Justice, Peace, and Human Development issued a statement entitled Background on Natural Resources. In that statement, the Catholic bishop says, in the United States, new mining and extractive practices such as fracking have caused grave concern due to their potential and adverse health and environmental consequences. Too often, people end up suffering not only from the effects of badly managed extractive operations, but also from the conflicts created by the struggle over control of the wealth generated. The bishops bring up two important aspects to consider: the human and environmental cost of fracking and the true greed that drives it. We believe that all human beings are made in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, each and every person, past, present, and future, is inherently endowed with dignity. Anything we do to harm any person in affront to that dignity and to God. We are our sisters and brothers' keepers. We are to live in such a way as to make life better for everyone. As we all well know, hydraulic fracking does the opposite. The potential to harm people in our earthly home is high and not worth the risk. We have certainly seen this in states such as Pennsylvania, Colorado, and Texas, and have invited fracking in and given big oil and gas free reign. I think specifically of women in Texas where in fracked areas the breast cancer rates have skyrocketed. Being currently myself undergoing treatment for breast cancer, I would not wish this on anyone, nor any of the other health problems experienced by people in the fracked states. Why in God's name would we intentionally do something that causes suffering for ourselves and others? The Catholic bishops hit upon key in their statement: pure, unadulterated greed. When we have come to a place where money trumps people, we are in a sad state indeed. In 1986, pastoral letter of the U.S. Catholic bishops entitled Economic Justice for All lay out basic economic principles, and among them the economy exists for the person, not the person for the economy. All economic life should be shaped by moral principles. Economic choices and institutions must be judged how they protect and undermine their life and dignity of the human person, support the family, and serve the common good. All people have the right to life and secure the basic necessities of life. That includes safe environment. Clearly, big ass and oil companies want to frack our land, frack our lives, only to have my own interests in mind. When greed drives our thoughts and actions, nothing good can come from that. God gave us this beautiful home to support us and sustain us. Anything we do to harm it is like committing suicide. Why in heaven's name would we be so stupid? We know that fracking has polluted the air, water, and land. I live in Bloomington in McLean County, and we have some of the richest farmland in the country. Land that feeds us and sustains us. We also experienced a drought last summer. Do we seriously want to turn our land and water over to those who would destroy it forever? Finally, I say to those who called environmental groups who have given up the fight and sold their souls to the frackers, I say shame on you! How dare you work to compromise the health and welfare of our fellow citizens? How dare you cooperate with the destroyers of our planet? How dare you not only support but help craft legislation such as HB 2615? How dare you give up? How dare you, I say? Well, we tried. Well, I'm here to tell you that Illinois People's Action will not give up. We will carry on doing what's right, no matter the cost, so please join the efforts. ¡Sí se puede! I'd like to leave you with Mr. Rich Whitney from the Safe and Legal team. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being here today. I want to point out that it is a measure of the desperation of this government that last week in his budget address, Governor Quinn actually talked about fracking as if this were going to be part of the solution to our budget crisis in Illinois. And we are here today to say, among other things, you cannot frack your way out of the budget crisis. In that budget address, Governor Quinn made three basic statements about fracking. First, he said it was inevitable. Then he said that the 2615 bill was the strictest regulation in the country of fracking. And then he said it had the potential to create thousands of jobs. On all three counts, Governor Quinn struck out. First of all, fracking is not inevitable. We're here to testify to that. It is not inevitable.
Frack-free Illinois!
And it is offensive to suggest that it is inevitable without hearing from the people first and hearing what their concerns are. They're very legitimate concerns. So that's number one. There is kind of a gold rush mentality surrounding all this, isn't there? But what happened after the gold rush? Ghost towns. Governor Quinn chose his words carefully. He said there was the potential to create thousands of jobs in southern Illinois. A little bit deeper analysis would give the lie to that part of the equation. There are no jobs in ghost towns. There won't be any jobs when your water is contaminated and your air is contaminated and people can't live there anymore and their property values plummet and they have to get out because there's no way to live there. This is the unacceptable level of risk that we're facing in the New Albany shale bed in southern Illinois and the surrounding areas where they want to frack. Fracking is inherently unsafe with current technology. That's the message. That's why we need a moratorium, and that's why Governor Quinn is wrong when he said that this bill, which hasn't even passed yet, that this bill would be the strictest regulations in the country. No, New York has a moratorium. That's the strictest regulation in the country. No fracking. And what's good enough for New York, we think is good enough for Illinois. We think that if they had the wisdom, we need the wisdom. And I might add, it was kind of interesting that the very day that he gave this budget address and released his budget included cuts to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, one of the agencies that's supposed to protect us. Right? As Penny pointed out, you know, even if the regulations might be adequate, even if they were hypothetically good in some way, what good are regulations if you don't have the means to enforce them? Right? With a Department of Natural Resources that's already starved of funds, and an Environmental Protection Agency that just had its budget cut. It is absolutely absurd to think that that regime is going to work and is going to protect public health. Regulations are not enough. We have to have a moratorium in Illinois. We're fighting for a ban and we're fighting to win. No regulations can prevent cement from cracking and well casings from leaking a mile underground. What are you going to do then? No regulations can keep methane from migrating through underground fissures and faults. No regulations can keep formaldehyde and benzene and toluene from rising out of boreholes, or trucks from crashing, or pit ponds from spilling or leaking. Fracking is an accident-prone, carcinogen-dependent, climate-destroying enterprise that uses our land as its factory floor and turns our communities into industrial zones and potentially industrial wastelands. Wherever fracking has gone, air is polluted, water is contaminated, roads clogged with trucks, property values plummet, and people get sick, and healthcare costs go through the roof. The jobs that fracking provides are temporary and toxic, and so is the gas. Your children will be left with shattered bedrock and toxic mess. By the time they are your age, there will be no jobs and no gas. This is a fool's mission. We need a moratorium. We need to pass the moratorium bill, Senate Bill 1418, House Bill 3086. Let's get a moratorium in fracking in Illinois. And now let's hear. And now we want to hear from Beverly Walter from Kapow. Thank you.
Hi everyone. This is a great group. Give your all self a hand. I'm Beverly Walter, and I'm with Kapow Citizens Act to Protect Our Water. The water level in the Great Lakes is at a record low, and the low water level is impacting commerce, shipping, and infrastructure along the lake, and is threatening the flow of partially treated wastewater into the lakes, which is where we get our drinking water. The situation in southern Illinois is even more immediate. The area was a red zone on the weather maps last year, experiencing a severe drought. And the climate scientists attribute these water crises to the increased temperatures that alter weather patterns and cause increased evaporation. Yet, we are confronting the possibility of allowing fracking to come to Illinois. Frack gas is not the bridge fuel that it has been touted to be. Research shows that drilling and fracking for natural gas actually contributes to climate change. A recent National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration report found that 5% of methane was leaking from the wells, and in some places up to 10%. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas, a major contributor to climate change. The controversy over fracking in Illinois is a wake-up call. We should wake up. Have we actually reached a point where we are so addicted to fossil fuels that we will contemplate using all of the water in southern Illinois, poisoning the wells and aquifers, and endangering the health of its citizens? It is time to seriously examine our energy usage and production. It is time to invest in renewable energy in Illinois. We need to look at renewable energy for the jobs and energy of the future, not the past. Renewable energy industries created a total of 8.5 million jobs, direct and indirect, in 2006. These jobs will not be just engineering. Instead, they will include millions of new jobs in manufacturing, construction, accounting, and management. And they will not destroy our land, our water, and our air, and our future. Scientists and activists have warned that we are at a tipping point. If we do not change course very soon, we risk making the planet uninhabitable. We must make changes. Germany is demonstrating that an entire country can become more renewable. In the first 6 months of 2012, the amount of electricity produced by renewable energy rose to 25%. Think of it. In Illinois, our law requires 3% renewable. Germany is at 25. Can't we emulate Germany? Let's have Illinois take advantage of Germany's example and move forward into investing in renewables and lead the nation in good, clean, green energy productions and jobs. Let's vote for the moratorium. Moratorium.
My name is Bruce Ratain, and I'm the State Policy Associate with Environment Illinois. Now, Environment Illinois is a statewide, citizen-based advocacy organization, and we're part of the National Environment America Network with groups in over 29 states. Our sister organizations across the country have seen firsthand the devastation that fracking causes. Now, we are here today to call for a stop to dirty drilling, to keep Illinois free from fracking. Now, what we've learned from our colleagues everywhere that fracking has happened is that it has been a rolling environmental disaster. People have been made sick, landscapes have been turned into industrial zones, all the while releasing harmful global warming pollution. Now, just this past February, In Ohio, reports indicated that a drilling operator intentionally dumped 20,000 gallons of fracking wastewater into a river. In Colorado, a broken fracking well outside Windsor spewed 84,000 gallons of contaminated liquid into the ground just 1,500 feet from nearby homes. And tragically, in West Virginia, a worker cleaning a brine tank was killed by an explosion at a gas drilling site. Now, if you add to that the hundreds of stories of accidents and pollution across the country, you can see why we don't want this dirty drilling here in Illinois. Now, here in Illinois, citizens are increasingly educated and mobilized on this issue. Folks from across the state have learned the true facts about fracking, and that's why we see this unprecedented group here today calling with one voice for a moratorium on fracking. Now, our message today is clear. From Colorado to Pennsylvania, we know that fracking has been a rolling environmental disaster, contaminating drinking water, making residents sick, and turning rural landscapes into industrial zones. That's why Environment Illinois has supported a moratorium on fracking since the first day it was introduced last spring, and that's why we are all urging Springfield to stop this dirty drilling here today. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, I think we're all available.
The young lady was saying, how dare you to the other environmental groups that support this? Do you agree to you saying how dare you to some of these more well-known environmental groups?
Sierra Club, NRDC.
Look, I'm not going to characterize any decision as an easy one. I'm not here to criticize my colleagues. But the bottom line is that we know if we want to keep Illinois residents safe from the dangers of fracking, the way to do so is through a moratorium, because in over 29 states, everywhere where this has happened, no state's been able to successfully regulate fracking and show that it can be done safely.
Who am I supposed to listen to? Some people say they're all for the environment, are all on board with this, and you guys also say, come on, who's for the environment?
Look, you know, let me say this. I have heard the regulatory bill called the strongest in the nation. Now, if an entire class fails on a test and you were the best among them, I'll just say I've never heard anyone jump for joy over an F+. But no state has been able to regulate fracking safely. If industry wants to prove that this practice can be done safely, there's no case study to point to, so I don't know how they would. So the evidence is clear. This has never been done safely. It's been done all across the country. It's caused severe health and environmental impacts. The only way to protect our health is through a moratorium, and that's what we're calling for here today.
And the Sierra Club is for a moratorium in New York.
So Sierra Club's all wrong and you folks are right. Not the Sierra Club and not the NRDC.
Well, first of all, the Sierra Club supports a moratorium here in Illinois as well.
Club for 30 years.
Well, Sierra Club's on board with the Bradley bill.
National Sierra Club is against fracking.
And here in Illinois, they're in support of the moratorium bill as well. But I think the bottom line, what's telling on this issue, is that if you ask the folks who live in the areas where fracking is going to happen, I, as someone from Chicago, wouldn't dare to presume that I can talk about whether fracking should happen in the state or not. If we want to know whether this practice should happen, we should ask the folks who live in the counties where it's going to happen, and they're here telling you they want a moratorium on fracking.
Well, here's what happens. You get a seat at the table to talk about how we should safely regulate this. So you look at those issues. Have we dealt with water scarcity when we're in a drought in that bill? No, we haven't. Have we dealt with seismic activity in that bill? No, we haven't. Do we even have a modeling program to predict what the fracking will do to the tectonic plates? No, we don't. So we haven't dealt with water scarcity. We haven't dealt with earthquakes. We have this fee shifting provision that will kill anybody being able to even participate in permits. We know DNR rubber stamps permits. We know the coal industry has pits of poisonous material all over southern Illinois that IDNR and the Attorney General's office have not made them clean up. Nobody's enforcing the laws that we already have against the coal industry, and we want to bring in a fracking industry who's going to inject hazardous materials back into the ground. The whole thing is just, it needs to be studied. It really needs to be banned, but we need to study it.
To be clear, this is forward momentum here today. A year ago in Illinois, only so many people even knew about fracking, and now we have dozens of people, if not over 100, from all regions of the state coming together to call for a moratorium.
Here we are.
I can tell you, we've seen more legislators join on the bills in both chambers in past days. I'd assume that trend is going to continue. Increasingly, Illinoisans are aware of this issue and they want to keep this dirty drilling out of the state, and it'll be a long-term fight, but this is forward momentum here today.
One would hope. It needs to be banned. We're not equipped to deal with it.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing to that, and that is that we were on the fight when this was a moratorium, amendment to a regulatory bill last year. And when it was, there were 38 representatives who signed on to that, and I think there were 7 or 8 senators who signed on, who said that they would vote for it. So there is support, and the support is growing. Daily it is growing because more and more information is coming out about how bad fracking is, and more people are becoming aware. And we will continue this fight because this is about the people of Illinois and the future of Illinois, and we have to have that regulatory bill killed. We need to have a moratorium in the state. We deserve what New York has, and that is moratorium and investigative task force.
Exactly right.
My name is Jan Thomas. I'm from Murfreesboro, Illinois. I'm right in the midst of the downstate. The Illinois Constitution, Article 11, says that the citizens have a right to a clean and healthy environment, and that we have a duty to protect it, and that our legislators have a duty to protect it with us for ourselves and future generations. We have this duty. Our legislators have this duty.
Exactly right.
It's in our Constitution, Article 11.
Thank you.
Spell your name for me, please.
Janthomas.
And where'd you say you're from?
Murfreesboro.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Spread the word. The people need to know.